Pierre said it. Let's get into the two that he did mention on there in detail. Thanks for everyone for joining Canada-wide news. And also there is merch available in the store, on the website, on YouTube, and there's a website as well. And I'll get some stickers on there as well. And I think Jugmeat deserves his own because I moved stuff into different playlists to clean it up a bit. And this Freeland one is pretty cool. Free this land from Freeland. I think that one deserves a special sticker, and Jugmeat also deserves one. I got some ideas for that one, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. We will dive in on a few of these topics for this one subgroup. First of all, the archaeology, the analyzing of human remains, and also a new discovery in AI brain scans, which is relevant to this topic. Also, Canadian media, why is it reported honestly in the UK? And Riley Gaines talks about sports and volleyball, and there's a video there that is of interest. And also the last part of binary in math, and what does that mean on math side related to this topic? And once again, also Pierre, the whole topic. Let's have a listen to what he has to say on this.
Should you form the next federal government, will you make female safe spaces safe again by introducing legislation that bans so-called transgender women from participating in female sports and getting access into female shelters and female prisons?
Female spaces should be exclusively for females, not for biological males. You asked if I introduced legislation on that. A lot of the spaces you described are provincially and municipally controlled. So it is unclear what federal legislation would reach federal legislation would have to change them. But obviously, female sports, female change rooms, female bathrooms should be for females.
There you go. There he said it. And it reminds me of this video of these two here when that news came out from Daniel Smith. And these two talked about how they get phone calls in the middle of the night from people under the age of 18, how devastated they are hearing this news. And I often wonder, which kid under the 18 is calling up these two in the middle of the night? How do they have their number, and how does that happen? Anyway, let's get into the topic of the archaeology. Now, the archaeology is the study of human past remains from the material left over. Now, you remember that clip of that guy saying, you know what, 100 years from now when we're all in the ground and they dig us up, they can look at the bones and figure out if you're a male and a female. And a lot of that, like, this is science going back to Lucy from Africa. In the pelvic area, there's a widening of the pelvic area for giving birth, that women have it bigger. So this is all scientific news that has been around for like hundreds and thousands of years. So that's something that everyone should keep in mind with this as well. That's how you identify it. And there's another way with the skull, but this is the easiest way when there is parts of that around. Now, the other example is recently on AI scans with 90% accuracy, they can determine if it's a male and a female. Let's have a listen to this video from CNN, and this is the devastation of AI, that it can predict this with 90%, just looking at a brain going down through the MRI scan to see which one it is. Let's have a look at this video.
A group of scientists say artificial intelligence indicates the brains of women and men work differently. Stanford medicine researchers have unveiled a new AI model that they say can tell if a patient is a woman or a man using only brain scans.
And what they found, that there were parts of the brain where there were key differences. So in terms of learning and how we respond to rewards in particular, and they had 90% accuracy.
How will this research be used?
So this is about how to treat different disorders. Now, forward research, so why some women, some men may experience different types of disorder, and whether that's connected to the way their brains are effectively wired. If they want to treat that, then they will be treating men and women differently.
Isn't that great news? The AI can figure with 90% accuracy to help people to cure them, to improve healthcare. This is wonderful news that this is happening, and we have discovered that from artificial intelligence. Now, let's go through the next example in the United Kingdom on that issue in Canada where that 50-year-old person was playing with teens. Let's have a look at this article in detail and what's going on. This is the news article from England. Outrage as transgender woman Melody Weishart, 50, competes against teenagers in Canadian swimming and shares changing room with terrified girls. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that on the CBC, that they ever talked about this. This is December 15th on here. And they go through in detail here is Melody Weishart from Ontario, Barrie in Ontario. And the thing is, this person is a professor at York University in the science of cognitive learning. Perhaps they would be interested in that AI, artificial intelligence, on what that 90% accuracy on brain scans. That would be interesting on there too. And in here they talk about, and right here is the person in question. I often wonder, like, if you're so good at gender studies and this, like, you know the fine line, like they must know the fine line between this. It's like a lawyer, like they know the fine line between, jail or crime and what's safe. And this goes like David Lamenti, like he knows, he's so good at it that he knows the border of that. And that's what somehow reminds me of this. And in this article, they talk about how the girls were terrified. And that is scary that this has happened. In 2019, it started. So this is like before COVID has happened. And after that, there was a lot more other things going on in the world when that happened. And it just seems like it was a time that media was not reporting on it, and they should have. And if you actually look at what's going on with terrified women, this is what comes up in Canada. Terrified teenagers. This is 3 recent incidents of stranger approaching young girls. So the CBC won't even cover it, the state broadcaster. And it's so odd. It reminds me of, when that article came out with Trudeau and his blackface? The blackface. That it was reported in American media first and not in Canada. And why is it that they're scared in Canada to report that information? That they fear that if they give the news to the Canadian media, they won't report on it, and maybe they're a little biased on why they won't report on that. But that's what it looks like is going on here. Now let's go through the next example in this series. This is the next topic on here is with Riley Gaines, and she is a swimmer, a female swimmer in America, and she's talking about what's going on with trans women sports. And I have to blur this video out here because it's sort of like you can't talk about stuff or you can't show it, which is really great to hide what's going on in facts. And so I'll blur this out on here too. I often wonder too, and also in the MMA, the mixed martial arts, why is it always I don't even want to put it on here because the fighters that are on there, what happens to the women after? And I don't know. I'll let people look that up on the internet themselves, but it is sickening, like concussions and horrible what is going on there. I'll leave a link to this video as well. And, someone mentioned too one time, how come there's no trans men competing with men? Because as far as I know, it doesn't even exist. It's always trans women that are doing this. There's no trans man joining a sport. And I'm a man, like joining a teenager's competition, like what feelings are going through your mind, when you look at these teenagers, like a 12, 13-year-old girl, and you're 50 years old doing this. Like, it must be, I don't want to say this, is this some satisfaction or something, like, that you can do it? Like, there's something else going on why you would do that, as an adult, and then going in the change room thing, like, I don't even want to think what's going on here with these girls that are so scared and like they can't say anything, and you can't film in a recreation center, and pools and stuff, obviously, but these girls, like, they must be terrified what's going on. And there was an article too of how they put towels up around the area and stuff, and they don't allow parents to go in, and even if these girls said something, they would probably be a bit scared on that too. And that, I don't know, I just don't get it. And Trudeau talks about protecting kids and, you know, how he loves to do that. You remember that one? Oh, let the moms go out of the room. I want to talk to the kids. Like, there's a lot of times where he just wants to go directly after the kids, which is creepy. And I don't even understand how any liberal can even think about that. Anyway, I'll leave a link to this. Let's look at the next topic, which talks about math and binary on this issue. Let's have a look at that.
Very simply, normal computers work by...
Hey, that was weird.
I am dysnumeric. What that means is I have an inability to handle small numbers and little calculations, those easy things that people do so well. I mean, 13 plus 14. 27? Under pressure, it's even worse.
Really?
I had to put in there the genius there and doesn't know any math. Makes you wonder how the budgets balance themselves. That's how you do it. Let's go look at binary and what that means. Even on computers, I mean, this is fact. Okay, non-binary, it's a 1 or a 0. The world of computers, everything you're looking at on the screen and the internet, that's the language of computers. So what does it mean to be non-binary? That means you're not either one of those. Now, the issue comes up if you can't be 2 1s or 2 zeros, if you know what I mean, right? There's no such thing as 1 1 or 1.1. You know, when you say non-binary, you're either one or the other. That's what explains that. So let's put a scale in here, because non-binary means you're something in the middle. Now, what does it mean to be 0.5 when you think about it? It makes no sense. A 0.5, a 0.75 you can understand, but a lot of this falls apart because to make one, like a being, you need a 1 and a 0 to do it, right? So to be a 0.75 it's hard to think about that. And a lot of times I was thinking about this, it's sort of like one's a hardware and one's a software issue that's really going on, because, you know, to make a new digit, you have to be one and the other to make it. You can't have 2 1s or 2 zeros, you know? It's impossible. So you really got to look at it that one's a hardware and one's a software issue, and then it starts making sense. And I think that's something that we don't really think about here, because on the software side, you have to be like over a certain age here. You should be, because people can decide if they're whatever they want on the scale after like the age of 18 or whatever, 20. I mean, no one's going to stop any of that, and that's super duper. You can be a 0.99 or a 0.75, whatever you want on the scale, whatever picks your fancy. But there's the hardware and the software side that I think that is overlooked a lot on this issue, mathematically speaking. Of course, put on the hat on of rationality in this topic as well. And we need a Trudeau to explain his genius moves on his mathematical thinking. Like, almost if it is explained like this, maybe he would realize that. So keep in mind, that's what it looks like. Hardware software issue is what we're talking about, and we seem to be putting in the same thing. Because, you know, I was thinking about a 0.6. What does that mean for hardware, a 0.6? Like, you know, that the example of the archaeology and the 75 angle and the 90-degree angle, it's either one or the other in a range. There's no such thing in the middle, you know, when they look it up. And that has to do with biologically and evolution. You know, you can't be in a different one when you look it up, archaeologically speaking, in 100 years from now when we're all in the ground. You know, that's how they'll do it. They won't say, you know, the software for this bones in the ground is this. They have no idea. I mean, gee whiz, look at, I don't know, Shakespeare or whatever, or I don't know, Plato or all those guys. I mean, they can't dig it up and say, hey, you know, you're a 0.75. You know, it's not going to be like that. It's either you're one or the other, hardware, and then there's a software issue. And I know this was a lot to explain. So anyway, thanks for watching. And I thought I'd go through this topic because over the age of 18, 19, 20, you know, everyone's a grown up at that point. But to put it on a kid and have teachers and this peer pressure and all this stuff is just a whole other issue that, you know, these are life-changing things that are done and it's something that should be done a lot differently. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that was pretty good going through that example. Best of goodbyes. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Quick sidebar. I've noticed a bunch of you are lurking in the shadows, uncommitted to my subscriber list. With Trudeau eyeing the internet like it's his personal playground, subscribing is your ticket to never missing the show. I'll keep you in the loop with all the updates. As always, your opinions matter, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now smash that like and subscribe for more impactful stories. Your engagement really changes the game.